So, hello everyone, it's DayTiMe, back with another video. This is the double Moab I promised yesterday. It's with the MP7. I'm not really happy about that, but it's on carbon, which is... you don't really see any gameplay on carbon, so... it's gonna be a pretty long video, so... it's my first really long video, so I'm gonna try to commentate through the whole thing. So I have some commentary topics. I'm gonna talk about... the first thing I'm gonna talk about is a little plane crash I was actually involved in. I was maybe 10 years old or something, and we were coming from America, from Florida, and we were flying back to Iceland. And when we were still over America, then the pilot announces that we are crashing, and we need to put our seatbelts on and trace up and stuff. So I was with my brother, who was 2 years younger than me, and my mom, and yeah, this isn't supposed to be like a sob story or anything. I wanted to tell you this story. And we fell from maybe 30,000 feet till 10,000 feet. So we fell 20,000 feet. Yeah, and I remember my mom, she just told us to start praying, and we just started praying, and it worked out great. Otherwise, obviously I wouldn't be here. We had to do an emergency landing in Baltimore. And that was the first time I ever tasted colored Cheerios, which I would call them, which I know are now Fruit Loops. It's the first time I tasted that. It was great. I had loads of fun tasting that. And I actually remember, when you imagine a falling plane, you imagine everyone screaming, being really loud, oh, I'm freaking out, we're all gonna die. But it wasn't like that. People were sleeping, people were just quiet, no one was freaking out. And by the way, about the gameplay, I cut it down a bit so it wouldn't be that long. The first Moab is around 4 minutes, the second one was maybe 5 or 6 minutes. So I cut it down so it wouldn't be 15 minutes of gameplay or something. So the Moabs are actually back to back though. But yeah, a little bit more about that plane crash. We were actually in a nosedive when we were falling. What happened was that before they were about to take off, some guy that works at the airport or something, he forgot to close a lid on the airplane. So a bug or something went into that lid and went into all the mechanical stuff. And when we were flying and the plane was on autopilot, we actually felt, the plane sensed that it was a lot higher than it was supposed to be. So it pretty much just shut down. I just remember everything just shutting off. We didn't hear the engine anymore or anything. And that was pretty, for me it wasn't that traumatic because I was so young, I didn't really understand what was going on. But for my mom, it was probably pretty traumatic for her because she was old enough to really understand that she could have died that day. But I understand now that I really could have died, but I didn't. And yeah, enough about that. It's a good story, I think. Well, not really a good story, but it's something to talk about. On a different note, Call of Duty wise, I'm going to talk about connection and sensitivity when you have a really bad connection. I used to have a McDonald's connection, not literally, but kind of. And there's the first Moab. I die, spawn, then the next week starts. Yeah, my connection earlier was terrible. It was honestly terrible. It was like a 3G router. It was completely wireless. You couldn't even connect, if you wanted to have an Ethernet cable to your PS3, you couldn't. It was just wireless. And it was also wireless to your internet service provider. It was completely wireless. It was measured in kilobytes. I didn't even have 1 megabyte download or upload. And that's what I would play Call of Duty on. On a box TV, I think that's what you call it. On a box TV, and with a terrible connection. And I got 20 Moabs or something on that connection, but not really a lot of them, but I could get Moabs in free-for-all pretty easily. I don't want to really say easily, but yeah, there my controller dies in the middle of the street. And what my friend was saying, he thought he got a quad feed that game, and he was checking it out, but it was another game on carbon. But yeah, my controller dies, and then as soon as I plug it in, I'm recording this from theater, so you don't see controller, please reconnect controller. I can hear the stealth bomber, and I look up in the air to see if it's gonna kill me. Luckily it didn't. And I don't think stealth bombers should kill you when you have blast shield on. I didn't have specialist, but didn't have blast shield, but because blast shield is a terrible perk. Why Why would they make that perk useless? It's just, if someone C4s you in your face and you have blast shield, you die. If someone C4s you in Black Ops 2, when you have black flak jacket, you don't die. You like hardly get any damage. But and stealth bombers are also a terrible idea. Like, why would you give someone that is bad at the game a freaking carpet bomb that's gonna ruin your Moab? Like, how many times have you died, one or two of a Moab, because some shit player uses Dead Man's Hand, a stealth bomber, or something stupid like that? For me, it's way too many times. It's really annoying. And yeah, I'm gonna give you a little tip right here. If you play Warfare 3 and you don't have Recon Pro, get Recon Pro. Just Recon Pro does. Recon without Pro, it gives you, so any explosive damage tags people on the minimap, so they become like a Blackbird. But if you Recon Pro, it tags people with bullet damage also. So if you just get one hit marker on a dude, he's going to be tagged for the rest of the game. No, not the rest of the game, for like 10 or 15 seconds. Which is really good. And it can give you a bunch of assists, or just telling you where he is, so you don't need to, like, if you tag him, you know where he is and don't need to worry about him. I keep getting off topic. Connection, sensitivity, is what I'm going to talk about. If you have a terrible connection, use a low sensitivity, because when I had my terrible connection, I needed to shoot like 7 bullets. Like, my first 3 or 4 bullets would never register. So I needed like 7 or 8 bullets, 6 or 7 bullets to kill someone, and they only needed like 3. So low sensitivity with good aim and map positioning is crucial. If you don't know how to position yourself on the map, you're going to do terrible every game. It doesn't matter how good your shot is. If you position yourself badly, you're not going to get Moabs. It's just that simple. Because when you die really fast and you can't really turn on everyone and stuff, if you had like a really good, like, games like, I don't know if you played the Destiny beta, but in that game, it doesn't really matter where you position yourself. If you have a sick shot, you can just headshot everyone and they die. But in this game, you die so fast, you need to have the advantage in every gunfight. And when you have a terrible connection, you also rage a ton. You rage so much because it's just awful. You're like one of a Moab and then you shoot someone and just nothing happens. And so many times I've been on a Moab streak and I just lagged out. And I would get really angry for a really long time. But just try not to do that. Just get angry, like just say, fuck this shit. And then just another game comes on. Just play that game like it's nothing, just nothing ever happened. That's the way to stay calm, get Moabs. It's going to be great. So here's the second Moab, so this gameplay is about to be wrapped up. I love calling in Moabs when I have 2 of them, it's so good. Like, you call in one Moab and people are like, oh, I got Moabbed, but you got Moabbed twice. My friend was actually asking me, did you get it? Did you get it? I didn't answer him, I just wanted him to see this second Moab being called in. And so yeah, this is pretty much wrapping up the gameplay, but I'm going to tell you a little bit. Sometimes I knife the air when I get a Moab, and he was like telling me to knife the air to make it legit. But of course it's legit. But when I knife the air, the knife goes to the right, and I always spin left, because it kind of like twitches everything, and I just think it looks awesome. And yep, here's the end of the gameplay. I go 60-3, which is a 20 KD, I think. Yep. So thank you for watching. Have a nice day. Well, for me, I'm uploading these at midnight, so have a nice day, or sleep well and have a nice night. Goodbye.